I was just getting really lost. The ether world? I'm liking it, and this is the sprayed edge. I was honestly being a little dramatic about it. The drama. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This week I am going to have a bit of a slower week and I wanted to bring you along with me. It's been a bit busier and more intense than I had expected it to be over the past few weeks, so I'm really feeling the need to just slow down a little bit and enjoy some of the sunny days that we have coming up, a bit of spring vibes. I want to be reading. I might do a little bit of drawing and things later on in the week too, but to start off with, I am going to be reading The Throne of Broken Gods, which is the second book in the Book of Azrael series. Now I have already started this and I am reading it on my Kindle, and I also have been listening to it with my Spotify audiobook hours, so I've kind of been doing a bit of an immersive read, but I've been quite slow in reading this, so I definitely want to pick it up a little bit and make it a bit more of a priority this week. That being said, it's also supposed to be quite nice weather this week and the sun is out right now, so I definitely want to embrace that, whether that's going for walks, whether that's reading outside, whatever it may bring. I just want to embrace that and also take a few quieter and slower moments because I haven't been doing that as much as I would want to. It's been quite go, which has been super fun, but I definitely need a little bit of a slower week this week, so let's enjoy that. So I am on my walk. I downloaded the book on Audible because it was on sale and I'm really liking my audiobooks at the moment, and I want to do an immersive read later this evening and hopefully throughout the week too. So I don't have enough hours on Spotify left to do that, so I figured it would be good to get the audiobook. And then the rest of the series was also on sale, so I downloaded and purchased those as well, so they're ready for me to read. Now I was on chapter 12 or 13, however I really couldn't remember what was going on, so I went back to chapter 9, and when I was a third of the way through that I still wasn't sure what was going on, so I then went back again to chapter 7 because the last scenes that I really remember were at the end of chapter 6. So now I'm on chapter 7. I think when I first read it, either I wasn't paying enough attention, or because since I've started the book I've actually read a few books in between, so I've gotten a bit lost in the story. But now I'm back, I'm on chapter 7 and I'm making my way through that. Okay, so I'm back from my walk and it was really nice to get out into the sun. I haven't done that all day, so it was very much needed, and it's supposed to be nice weather for a few days throughout this week, so hopefully I'll fit that in a little bit more. I am back to chapter 7 in my book. So I downloaded it as an audiobook, as I mentioned, and I was just getting really lost. I think this is the first book that I've started and then read a few books in between and then come back to, which is why I think I got a little bit lost. But I did have to go back twice, so I'm back to chapter 7 and I'm just getting myself reacquainted with the story and the characters and back into the plot, which I'm working with. This is an incomplete series, so only 4 books are out at the moment, so I've downloaded books 2 to 4 on Audible and then I can read them as and when I want to. I don't know if I'm going to read them all consecutively or if I'll have a break in between. I'll kind of see how this book goes. If I get really into the story, then that is a possibility. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take a bit of a break. I'm going to watch some TV, and then after that I need to tidy my room and also kind of reset and get ready for the new week. So when I do that, I'll come back to listening to the audiobook. And then this evening, I want to do an immersive read. I've been wanting to do an immersive read for a couple of weeks and I just haven't made the time to do so. So this evening, I will be making the time to do that and I'm so excited for that. But for now, I'm going to just chill for a little bit and then I'll come back to reading. Okay, so I have had my break, I had my dinner, I've got my hot water. Now it's time to put my audiobook in, tidy my room, get ready for bed, and then do some immersive reading. Okay, so I have tidied up my room, I've sorted out my stuff for work tomorrow. There are a couple of little bits and pieces that I've realised I want to do. Firstly, I do want to get new bed sheets, but I've looked around a few times and I can't decide what I want to get, like as in what colour I want, so that might be a job for another week. There are also a few books here that I no longer want, so I need to clear through that. I cleared through my side cupboard a few weeks ago, so there were a few books in there that I also want to donate, so I want to collect all of them and donate them all together. And then there were also some clothes that I need to donate too. I will hopefully do that later on in the week or at some point soon, because that's been on my mind a little bit, but I'm not going to do that right now or today. I am actually going to get ready for bed and then I'm going to do my immersive read, which I'm really looking forward to. I have been listening to the audiobook, so I'm now on chapter 8 and I'm how much of the way through it? So I'm about halfway through chapter 8, so I'm 11% of the way through this book. Now, if you don't know what this book is about, this is the second book in the Gods and Monsters series. So in the first book, we have Sam Kyle and we have Diana and their enemies. And they end up going on this journey in order to kind of save Diana's sister, as well as search for this artifact. You know what? Let me search the first book and read that to you, because that will give a better explanation, because I read it a while ago and I kind of can't remember. So it says, "For 1,000 years, the other world has known peace until now. The ether world? For 1,000 years, the ether world has known peace until now. Many centuries ago, desperate to save her dying sister, Diana made a deal with Caden, a monster far worse than any nightmare. Locked in servitude to him, she is forced to hunt down an ancient relic held by her most dangerous enemies, an army led by Sam Kyle, the World Ender. After the Gods' War, Sam Kyle hid from everything, denying his crown and deserting his people. Now an attack on those he loves sends him back to the realm he never wished to return to, and into the sights of an enemy he had hoped to forget. With every world at stake, Diana and Sam Kyle are forced to set aside their animosity and work together before all is lost." So that's the first book, and then the second book follows straight on after that. So I'm really glad that I went back a few chapters, because now I'm getting back into the story and into where I was in terms of the plot and the characters and who's who and kind of what's going on. So I'm glad that I've done that. And yeah, now I'm just going to get ready for bed. It's only 7:40 p.m, so I should be in bed by about 8, and then I can do like an hour and a half of an immersive read, which would be perfect. And then I will go to sleep early, wake up early tomorrow, and then back to my routine. I'm really enjoying my slow mornings, which I have been implementing way more often than I ever have done before. I think I mentioned this in a previous video, that a big part of that is the fact that it has been a bit more sunny in general, which has really helped. But also I've been making sure that I go to sleep earlier, usually about 9:30, 10. I try to kind of put everything away and start going to sleep, and then I can wake up about an hour earlier, take a bit longer to get ready. Sometimes I film in the morning, sometimes I read a little bit in the morning, sometimes I might journal, and it just gives me some extra time and space to do something else that fulfills me right in the morning before I go into my normal commute and work. So I've really been enjoying that. So whilst I will be doing my immersive read this evening, I will have a cut-off time at about 9:30, 10, so that I can then have a good night's sleep. It is actually Monday today, but it's bank holiday Monday, so I've had it off. So tomorrow is the first day back to work for this week, but it will be a 4-day week. Anyway, instead of talking about work, let's get back to the audiobook, getting ready for bed, and then doing my immersive read. Good evening. I have in fact DNF'd the Throne of Broken Gods. Yep, midway through my immersive read yesterday evening, I was realizing that I was not interested, and I think that's why I had to keep going back and re-listening to a few of the chapters. It was because I wasn't interested in what was going on. Now the thing is, I actually really like the characters and I think the world is really cool and there's a lot that can be done with it, but I was just getting bored. And I did feel that a little bit in the first book, but I thought it was because it was the first book of a big series, and as I was reading the second book, I was not interested. I didn't really care what was going on, and I kept kind of zoning out, which was so sad because I really liked the characters, but that is what was happening. So I did DNF it, and I DNF'd not only the book but the series, and I'm quite sad about it. I thought that was one that I was really going to love, but I have DNF'd a few books recently, and I don't know if it's because maybe what I'm interested in reading is different now that it's spring, or maybe just in general I want to branch out a little bit more. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, that did in fact happen. So what I've started to listen to instead is Oathbound by Tracy Deonn, which is the third book in the Legendborn series. This was originally supposed to be a trilogy, but it's now going to be a 4-book series. The fourth book isn't out yet, and I was originally planning on waiting a little bit longer until I read the third book. I was thinking of maybe reading it when the fourth book came out, but since I DNF'd the other books, I was looking on what was already on my Audible account, and this was one of them, so I decided to just catch up with this series completely, so when the fourth book comes out I'm ready to read that. I did return all 3 of the Gods and Monsters series that I bought yesterday, so I have got those back as credits now as well, which I can use later on in the month. But yeah, so I am reading Oathbound now. I'm liking it. It's so fun. I really like the first book. I have listened to the first and second book in various vlogs, but to give a bit of a summary, we are essentially introduced to our main character Bree, whose mother has just passed away. This is an urban fantasy, and she's going to university, but she's 16 years old, so she's like one of the youngest, and she ends up becoming entangled with this secret society who deal with like demons and the supernatural. And she also has a lot of family history in this area, and we get to uncover information about her ancestry, so there's some mystery to it. There is a little bit of a love triangle, which I am usually one that doesn't like love triangles because there's always like the obvious choice, but in this case I do have a preferred choice, but I would be happy with either, so that is rare for that to happen for me. And then the second and third books, we basically continue with that story. So the second one, I did find that I had to push through a little bit towards like the first third of the book, but I still really enjoyed it. I like the characters, I like the plot, I like the friendships. I just wanted a little bit more from it in the first half of the second book, but then we definitely got it at the end of that book. And so far from what I've listened to in the third book, we've still got that connection and the depth and the friendship and the plot that I really like. I think I was like 12% of the way through, so I haven't listened to loads of it, but I should be able to get through a good chunk of that in the next few days. Yeah, so chapter 3, which is 12% of the way through. So I am listening to that. And then I also want to read Pride and Prejudice. I have the book somewhere. So I also want to continue my read of Pride and Prejudice. Now, I've mostly been reading this on my Kindle, so I do need to update it on here. But I think I'm about 30% of the way through, or just under 30% of the way through. So I will hopefully continue with my read of this week, maybe even finish it, but at least get to like halfway through Pride and Prejudice. That would be wonderful. Now, yesterday I mentioned that I wanted this to be a slower week, and besides work, which we're not going to include in the slowness because it never is slow, I actually kind of woke up a little bit late this morning, only like 10 minutes, but it made me rush so that I got my train on time, and I hated that. So even though I did my immersive read and I put everything away on time, it still just took me a little bit longer to get to sleep, and so I woke up a little bit all over the place. So I really want to make sure that doesn't happen tonight, so I will be trying to go to sleep a little bit earlier. Maybe I won't do so much of an immersive read or anything today, although I don't think I have Oathbound downloaded on my Kindle, but I will try and go to sleep a little bit earlier and make sure that I have that slowness in the morning and also this evening. So I'm definitely working on that a little bit more this week. In general, my mornings have been so good the past few weeks, and I just want to keep that up as much as possible. But that is kind of where I'm at. I really do have a few things that I want to like clear up, which I will hopefully do this weekend. I also might try and get my nails done because I essentially damaged one of them, so I've been trying to leave them alone, but I might go to a nail salon and ask if I can still get it done or if I still need to let it heal. And if I can get it done, then I might do that this weekend as well. I don't know if it's the weather, the sun, and like I'm a bit more outdoors at the moment, so I kind of want them done, but I might do that on the weekend. And as well as kind of the clear out that I mentioned a few days ago, I do also have some editing to do. I have a different vlog that I finished filming a couple of days ago that I want to edit and schedule alongside a few shorts and stuff, so I might try and do a little bit of that today and tomorrow night. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, so we'll see how that goes. Good morning. So I am in fact working from home today, and I managed to wake up really early this morning, which was excellent because I did my home workout in the morning, and now I have about half an hour before I need to log in to work. My relationship with exercise has fluctuated a lot in the past few years. I used to go to the gym when I was younger and when I was at uni. Then I mixed around with different home workouts and things. Then I went to reformer Pilates classes, which I really enjoyed, but then I started to struggle to actually book a class. They didn't have availability when I was available to go, and it was just starting to get a little bit more difficult. And so then we now have a Peloton, so I've been using the Peloton app, and I mix between spin classes, Pilates classes, stretching. I've also tried a few of their other ones, which I've really been enjoying. And so now my aim is to do about 2 workouts a week. I used to try and do 3 or 4, but that was just too much, and I was getting overwhelmed and frustrated that I wouldn't do them. So now 2 workouts seems to work a lot better for me. I also do love walking, so I tend to do my 10k steps on the days that I go to the office anyway, and then now that it's getting sunny, I will go for odd walks in my lunch breaks, on the weekend, in the evenings, so that's been really nice to do as well. I have been reading. During my lunch break today, I do want to go and donate the clothes that I mentioned that I wanted to donate, and I also want to go to the nail salon and see if I can get my nails done, and if I can, then I will try and book that in either for this evening or this weekend or next weekend, whenever I can make it work. So I want to do that at lunchtime. I have been reading, and I am about 16% of the way through Oathbound. I thought I would be a bit further along, but I've really been enjoying it. This is the 3rd book in the series, and so because of that, I already know the characters, I know the world, and so it's a lot easier to just get into, and so I'm really enjoying where we're at, especially because of where we finished off in the 2nd book and just picking up from that. So I'm really enjoying it so far, but I do want to make a lot more progress on that. And then yesterday evening, I managed to do an immersive read of Pride and Prejudice. It has taken me a while to get into this book, but once I got to about 20%, I started to get really interested. So I want to make more progress on this too. I think because it is different to the books that I normally read, but one of my goals this year was to not only read some more classics, but also to just read outside of my normal genres that I read. So I'm really glad that I've managed to make a bit more of a dent in this, but I do hope to get a little bit further along. This evening I have a few options in terms of what I could do. So I could do some more reading. I also could do some sketching because I haven't sketched all week, so I do want to do a little bit of that. I could also go through my bookshelf and get a stack ready of the books that I want to donate. And I could also get my nails done if there's availability and if I can do that. So I'm not quite sure which I'm going to do, but for now, I'm going to make some tea and then I'm going to set up and get ready for work. I've also realized the reason that I think I've struggled to wake up earlier this week is because of my hay fever, and it's just made my eyes a bit puffy in the mornings. It's made me a bit slower in the mornings. So I think that's why my mornings have been a little bit disrupted, but I'm hoping that will be fixed from now on. But anyway, I am going to get going. Okay, so let's see which books I can clear out. So to start off with, we have the Shepherd King duology, which I will absolutely be keeping. This is a gothic fantasy duology, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It's by Rachel Gillig, and it's actually the first couple of books that I read to get me back into reading as an adult. I also have special editions of these, which are gorgeous. Those are actually on the shelf above, which I will show you quickly. So this is the special edition of One Dark Window. Look at that, and look at the sprayed edge, absolutely stunning. And look at that inside. And then we have the second book, which is Two Twisted Crowns, and this is the sprayed edge, and this is inside. Look how amazing. I love these. So yes, I will be keeping the originals as well as the special editions. Then we have Phantasma and Enchantra, which are part of a interconnected series, which are actually, I think, classed as a dark fantasy romance. I really enjoyed these two as well. These were a really fun read. I definitely preferred the first one, but I still liked the second one too. Then we have my cozy fantasy books. So we have The Secret Society of Irregular Witches, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and The Spell Shop. I really loved The Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I cried while reading it. The Spell Shop was also really fun. I think there's another book after this which I do want to read as well. Now, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, I did enjoy it, however I didn't love it, so I'm not continuing with the series, so I might not keep this book forever, but I'll definitely keep it for now. Then we have the Spark of the Everflame series. I really enjoyed this series. Okay, I'm waiting for the next book. A lot of people complain about the FMC, but I really didn't find her annoying, so I really enjoyed the series. I had a lot of fun with reading this, so I'm looking forward to continuing that, and I will absolutely be keeping that. Then we have the Fourth Ring series, so we have books 1, 2, and 3. Now, Onyx Storm, I actually originally read the hardback because that's all that was available when it first came out, and so I recently bought the paperback because I've realised I just prefer paperbacks unless they're special editions, and I donated the hardback because I didn't want to keep it, so that is why this looks so fresh, just because I haven't actually read this version yet, but I will be doing a reread of these, hopefully when the fourth book comes out, whenever that will be. Then we have Legends and Lattes. This is another cozy fantasy. However, I liked it, but I didn't love it. I enjoyed it a lot, but I don't know if I really want to keep it on my bookshelf, so I think that will be donated. Then we have Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is a fantasy and dark academia, and it was so good. It was so heartbreaking. I really enjoyed it. I will be reading Catabasis by R.F. Kuang very soon, so I will be keeping this book. I really enjoyed it. I might reread it as well soon, but I definitely enjoyed that. Then we have Caraval. This is the first book in a trilogy. I really enjoyed Caraval itself. However, books 2 and 3, which are Legendary and Finale, they were disappointing. Legendary was extremely disappointing. Finale was decent, but Legendary I was really disappointed in. I'm going to keep all 3 of them for now because I will be reading the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, which is interconnected with this. I'm hoping to read that pretty soon. So if I really enjoy that series, then I'll keep all 6 of the books, and if I don't, then I might rethink it. Next we have the Book of Azrael. Okay, I actually quite liked the first book, however I have since DNF'd the series, so I think I'm going to donate this. I'm going to have to get rid of my annotation tabs. I don't think I wrote in here. Oh, I did a little bit, so I might not be able to donate it, but I definitely don't really want to keep it, so I might be able to give this to someone instead. Then we have Lady of Darkness. This is the first book in its series. I do have books 2 and 3 on my TBR cart, and this is a series that I want to complete this year, so hopefully I will be getting to that soon, so I will be keeping this. Next is Riftborn, Dustbound, and The Ascended. I enjoyed these, especially The Ascended, and I will be continuing with the series, so I will be keeping these books. Then we have An Ember in the Ashes. I loved this series. I had so much fun with not only this, but there's also an interconnected series with the first book being called Air, which I've also read, and I really enjoyed those. I only have the first book because I couldn't find the rest of the series with the same style of covers. All of the ones that I've seen have a different style, so I want to purchase them when I can find the ones with the same style, so hopefully I'll be able to do that, but I will be keeping that. So I guess these are the only 2 that I will be taking off of my shelves. There is a stack of books that I already have that I want to be donating, so I will add this to those and then I can donate that soon. Good evening. So during my lunch break, I did manage to go and donate the clothes that I wanted to donate. I also went to the nail salon, but they said I need a couple more weeks to let my nail heal. So I just cut my nails and filed them down at home. And then hopefully after a couple more weeks, I'll be able to go and get some spring nails on. After I logged off from work, I did go through my bookshelves, which you just saw. I don't know why I thought it would take so long because I literally have one shelf, and I went through my books a few months ago, so I don't know why I had it in my head that this task would take so long. I was honestly being a little dramatic about it, but I did manage to add 2 more books to the book stack that I have that I want to donate, so I will do that hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I am also not buying as many physical books as I was, simply because I would sometimes buy like a whole series before I even knew if I liked the series and whether I was going to complete it or not. I am also someone that is not afraid to DNF, so I was buying all these books and sometimes I wouldn't even like the book, I wouldn't like the series, I would DNF it, and so there was no point in me having the physical copy anyway. So now what I'm going to do is, moving forward, I am only going to buy the books when I know that I want to complete the series, or I already have read it and I really enjoyed it and I want it on my bookshelf. Also, when I first started reading, I didn't have a Kindle, so because I now have one, I tend to read a lot on there rather than reading the physical copy, just because I can have my Kindle when I'm commuting and stuff. I also listen to audiobooks a lot of the time, so it's just meant that I don't use physical books as much, and it was just causing me to have this extra step that I would have to go through every few months, and it was honestly unnecessary. So I won't be buying as many physical copies, but I will try to buy just the ones that I really love. And I of course have limited space as well, so that's also another reason why I'm trying to limit down how many physical copies I get. But that is done. Now for this evening, I am thinking of doing my spin class because I do generally prefer my evening workouts because it just gets rid of the extra bit of energy that I have left in the day, and it puts less pressure on in the morning. This morning, the only reason I did my workout was because I hadn't done any this week, so I needed to push myself to do it. But I generally prefer doing evening workouts. So if I do my spin class this evening, then tomorrow morning I can have maybe a lie-in, I can maybe read, I can maybe sketch, or I can just take a bit of a longer time to get ready in general. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then after that, I'm thinking of sketching. The past few nights I've mostly been reading in the evening, so I think sketching tonight would be quite a good change, and I'm just in the mood to sketch. Now I am changing how I'm drawing moving forward. So I have my A6 sketchbook, which I actually bought before I went on my India trip, but I never used it on the trip. I only used it afterwards in a different vlog. However, the first couple of sketches that I did, I ended up cutting out and sticking into my A3 sketchbook, which I really regret because I kind of want to have this to be able to flick through and see my progress and what I've sketched. And so that's what I'm going to start doing, is any sketch that I have in here, I'm not going to cut out, I'm not going to put in my A3 sketchbook. I just want this to be like its own little archive. So I do want to use this evening. Then I have my A5 and my A4 sketchbooks. Now in here I have some sketches that are really old that are from like uni, some sketches that I've taken out and put into my A3 sketchbook. It's just a bit varied, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'm going to keep it with the experimentation, with playing around with it, and some of them will stay in here, some of them will go to my A3 sketchbook, and I'm just going to keep going with that. And then in terms of my A3 sketchbook, I no longer want to cut out every single sketch and put it in here. I think I was just going a bit overboard with that. For example, with one of the first pages, I have this one which has some drawings from my A6 sketchbook, some drawings from my A5 one drawing from my A4 one, and I just think it's unnecessary, and I don't want to keep doing that moving forward. I really want my A6 sketchbook to be its own archive, and then this can be another one which is a little bit more focused on maybe projects or larger drawings or bigger experimentations. For example, the next page, I just have one sketch in the main page, and then I also have some experimentations of oil pastels, and I really like how these pages turned out, so I just want to kind of keep going with that and make it a little bit more focused on larger drawings and experimentations in the actual sketchbook, rather than having a bunch of different ones that I just stick into there. So that's how I'm changing how I'm using those. Now I also want to start my own art journal. I have wanted to start an art journal for years. I've seen them on Instagram for years, but I've always been so scared to start them, and I still am, but it's something that I really want to do. It's a new project that I want to have, and I just think it will be so fun. Now, the first decision is whether I want that to be in an A5 sketchbook or an A4 one. I think A4 will look the best, but it feels really daunting right now. And I think A5 feels less daunting, but at some point I'm going to want to move into A4. I do have a few pages left in this A5 sketchbook, so I could use those as an art journal. And then once I've gotten a little bit more comfortable and once I've completed this one, I could then move into an A4 sketchbook as an art journal, but I haven't quite decided yet. Or I can just go straight into it and just see how it goes. Maybe I'll do that, but I haven't decided quite yet. I don't know if I will start the art journal this month or next month, but it's definitely something that I want to look at doing. I just think it would be really fun. I've always wanted to have one, and I just feel like if not now, then when. So that's kind of how my drawing and sketching and how I'm using my different sketchbooks is going to change. For this evening, I am going to be using my A6 sketchbook. I think I just want to draw on Smallville, so I'm watching a TV show called Smallville, so I'll probably have that on in the background, and I kind of want to draw bits and pieces from there, just so it's a little bit more relaxed and I can just play around with it. So I think I'm going to do that, but first I of course need to go and do my spin class, so I'm going to do that, probably have my dinner, and then I will get to sketching. Good morning. It is in fact Saturday morning. I did a nice and slow morning routine. I also had a really good lie-in and a nice rest, so I feel so refreshed. And I have been having my hay fever tablets, which has absolutely been helping. I am still currently drinking my tea, but I thought I would update you before I head out for the day. It is currently 10:45 in the morning, so I have about an hour before I need to leave, or about 45 minutes before I need to leave, so I'm in really good time today, which is wonderful. I love when that happens. Before I get to what I'm doing today, I'll update you on what I've been doing. When I last left you off, I was doing some drawings, which I did in fact do. I just did this little page. I literally was watching Smallville in the background, and then I went on Pinterest and just searched up Smallville aesthetic, and I got a few different pictures that kind of represented Smallville, and I just started sketching them. I didn't draw any people, which I realized maybe I should, so maybe I'll do that next. But I did just manage to do this little one, which was so cute, and I'm so happy with it. And it was such a nice evening to just have some time to do some drawing and watch a TV show. I absolutely loved it, so I will definitely be doing that more. And like I said, I think I will try and draw some people next. I do struggle with that a lot. I've attempted to a few times before, but I've never really stuck with it, so maybe I will try that a few more times in the next week or so. Then I have been reading Pride and Prejudice, and I am having so much fun with this. I think I'm about halfway through now, and the drama, I have been loving it. This has been wonderful to read. Obviously it took me a while to get into it, but I have just been having so much fun, so I do hope to continue that over this weekend. Probably not today, but I'm hoping to complete that pretty soon. But it's been really fun. Like I said, it took me a minute to get into the story and into the characters, and obviously kind of learning the societal norms of when this book was written, which was in the 1800s, and so that took me a minute to kind of adjust to. But once I did, I think I mentioned before, at about 20% is where I got quite interested, and then at about 35-40% the drama, and it's been really good. I'm loving it. I really like the characters and like what's going on. So I'm excited to continue reading this. I did not expect to enjoy it so much. I don't know why. I think it's just when I first started reading it, I was really unsure, and I'm glad that I am enjoying it now. But that's where I'm at with this. I have not really listened to Oathbound, so maybe I'll listen to that whilst I'm heading out. In terms of my art journal, I do think I'm going to get an A4 one. And I just think I need to go for it. And if I don't like the first few pages, then I don't like the first few pages. And that's just me trying something new, and there's nothing wrong with that. I am coming to realize that I have a lot of hobbies, and I'm trying to figure out how to kind of organize them all, because in my hobby cart, I have my book journal, I have my scrapbook, I have my archive, which I don't really use anymore, and I'm not really sure what I want to use this for. So I might have to reevaluate how I use that one. And then I'm starting my art journal. I obviously like doing my sketches, which I have this sketchbook, I have my other sketchbooks, I have my A3 sketchbook, and then I'm doing my self-studying. And it's been so fun to jump around between these all, but I do need to figure out what I'm doing with my archive. If you're not familiar with my archive, it's this, and I started off using it as like an art journal. Oh, I did. Okay, I did in fact start using it as like kind of an art journal. Then it was like photography. So this is some more of my art journal pages, and then it was photography, and then it was just like kind of random stuff. But I kind of thought if I used it as an art journal, it would be a bit difficult because there's lines all over it. But I already have used it like that. So maybe I just use this as my art journal whilst I get back into that. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to paint in it because I think the paper's too thin, but I could always paint on something else and stick that on top. Okay, maybe I'll use this as my art journal. At least that way I'm using this. Otherwise, I really didn't know what I was going to use this for. Okay, I think that's a decision made, which is wonderful. So this is going to be my art journal. I'm not going to start that this week. I will hopefully start that in the next few weeks. Now, I am heading out into London. I'm actually going to see a few friends who I actually met in an event that I went to back in October. Now, I am someone that was trying to get out and just socialize more, especially during autumn and winter. It was so difficult, and because I wouldn't want to leave the house on the weekend, I would try to go to events like after work, and that's how I've met these friends, and we've managed to stay in touch. So we're actually going to be doing a crochet day. We were planning on doing a picnic whilst doing this, but the sun isn't out today and it's actually a little bit chilly, so we're actually going to do this indoors instead. I've never crocheted, but a few of them have, so we're kind of going to be learning. This is what I'm going to try and crochet. It's supposed to be beginner friendly, so there's also a YouTube video connected to it that I am going to try and copy. But yeah, that's kind of the plan, so I am going to head out to go and do that. So I'm now in London. I'm actually a bit early, so I bought a wrap and I'm going to try and find a park or a bench to sit on, have my wrap, and then I'll head to my friend's house. I did not manage to do any reading on the train because it was packed, so I didn't even listen to a book. I just listened to some music, but I'm going to go on a little walk now and then head to my friend's. Good morning. It is in fact Sunday now, and this is where I got to in terms of the crocheting. So I've got a couple of steps left. I kind of need to finish this heart and then I need to build up the layers. So I've got that left. I can see how you can kind of get addicted to this because once you get into the flow of it, I see how it can be really enjoyable. To start off with, I definitely struggled, but I'm liking how it's going. I don't know if this is going to be a hobby that I do very frequently, but I definitely want to finish this project, and then I'll probably use the yarn for some art projects, and maybe I'll practice a few more crochet pieces in the future. But I always love a new hobby. This is not going to be one that I do very frequently, but I think if I have a project in mind, then I might try it. But it was really fun to do, so I'm glad I started that, but I hopefully will finish this in the next week. I do need to get a hook because I don't have a hook, so I borrowed one of my friends, so I might need to buy that. But yeah, that was the result of that. Then I have been reading Pride and Prejudice. So I'm just about to start chapter 39. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun. We've had some developments, we've had some drama, we've had some changes. So I'm nearly at the point of starting volume 3. So I might get to that by the end of today, but I've definitely made some progress in this, which I'm so happy about. When I started off this week, I wanted it to be a bit of a slower, more intentional week, and I definitely managed that, and I'm so happy with it. I know my mornings, some of them didn't go as planned because I didn't wake up as early as I wanted to, but I still managed to take them a bit slower. I managed to enjoy my evenings. I managed to make some moments throughout the day as well, with my walks, with reading, with trying a new hobby, with going out and seeing friends. So it's been a really, really fun week, but I'm really enjoying spring so far. I didn't realize how much I was missing the sun and missing going out and socializing, and I really limit myself on doing that during autumn and winter because it's just cold and I catch colds pretty easily, and especially on the weekends, I don't want to venture that far out, and so I struggle with going to like events and trying new things. But in spring, that's all I want to be doing. So I'm really excited to continue with this. I do have a few more things that I want to get up to before the month ends, but I will definitely update you on that in future videos. But thank you so much for spending this week with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.